We are going to do a little session. I wouldn't call this project one, probably exercise is more appropriate. We're going to put some sound to some music. We're going to do that by using a Midi file. And a Midi file contains on-off information, contains notes, pitch values, and the other little details. Contains some musical tracks. And we're going to put some sounds to those tracks and learn a lot along the way. What we're not going to do is worry about making any music, which is really some of the hardest parts of what we do. So in any case, we're in Pro Tools. We have a session open. This is blank session, essentially where we left off in a previous video. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go File, Import, Midi. And for this case, I'm just going to search for the file name that I know exists, which is Exodus by Bob Marley. And I'm going to open it. And I'm going to have these tracks go to the clip list. And I'm not going to explain why exactly, but here we go. And I'm going to hit OK. All of these things, import tempo map. If there was one, a tempo map means that there's changes in tempo throughout, and that would come along with it, the key signature, things like that. Basically, I'm just going to keep it simple. I'm going to have all of these tracks just go to the clip list and hit OK. Notice they showed up in your clip list. A separate video kind of explains all about that, the fact that you have your named tracks. This little icon indicates what type of track they are. These are MIDI, and that it's in ticks. Okay. Now we need a destination for these instruments, for these tracks or these parts. So I'm going to do really quickly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I need 15 tracks. I'm not going to make them, so I'm going to insert the number 15. I'm not going to make them audio tracks because these are MIDI. I'm not going to make them MIDI tracks because, as you'll hear me say, MIDI carries no sound. And in Pro Tools, MIDI tracks carry no sound. There's ways to connect MIDI tracks to audio tracks or to aux input tracks. But basically, what an instrument track is just that. It's a combination of MIDI track and aux input that's hosting a virtual instrument. So in this case, we're just going to use instrument tracks. I'm going to make 15 of them. Bam. I'm going to click on Option and then click on this little scene here and have all my tracks go to small. And then I am going to name these tracks. It's just important to do so. And I'm going to name them based on their clip name. So I'm just going to do it in order. A piano, alto sax. By the way, as I'm naming multiple tracks, I'm just hitting next. Charang. Don't know what that is. That'll be interesting. Clavinet. I'm just going to write clav. Drums. Flute. Fretless is bass. I don't see the word bass anywhere else, so I'm just going to go bass. GS reset. We'll see what's on the track. I don't know what that is. Guitar, jazz guitar, melody. That's probably the vocal. And when I play around with these things, I tend to mute those. Let's see. Guitar, mute 1. Guitar, mute 2. Guitar, mute 3. Trombone, trumpet. All right, the only change that I'm going to make here, and by the way, when you see all these highlighted, if you hit Command in one of them, then you can kind of just select one. If you click on these nameplates, you can move your tracks around, reorder them, and I'm going to do that at least with my alto sax, and I'm going to put it together with the other horns in the section. And I'm going to move my drums up here and my bass right after my drums, just kind of things that I need for myself. I'm going to take the flute, put it down there, see what happens. I'm not exactly sure what all these sounds are. Charang. Okay, so just note that the tracks, when you created them, were at medium size, and you see your inserts going vertically. When I made them small, they just went horizontally. You can still click on them and go for it. Okay, so from our drums, I'm going to insert. Well, first of all, let me grab my drum track. So I'm going to come over here because right now it's still blank. There's nothing there. I'm going to drag, click, and drag on the word drums. And I'm literally dragging it onto this track all the way to the beginning, and then I let go. And you see these dots. Dot, 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 dot. These dots indicate that something has happened. Some note was played at this time on these pitches. So vertically are different keys on a Midi controller, and then horizontally is time. The length of the notes, as well as when they're played. They're gray right now. This track is gray right now because there's no instrument to sound out. So if I pressed play, we hear nothing. If I go to my insert, plug in, instrument, I'm going to choose expand. It's going to be the first instrument that we actually go over in detail. It's also often called, at least by me, the Swiss Army knife. It has every type of sound that you need. They may not be the most extraordinary or innovative, but you have them all. All right, when you start up expand, you're going to see this name right here, Beneath the Waves. That is the default preset. If I were to press play right now, you are hearing Beneath the Waves, basically trying to play drums. Quick expand. Come over to preset factory default. These are categories of all the instruments, types of instruments that you can choose from. You'll notice some things that make sense, like piano, acoustic piano, things that may not make sense, like polysynths or ambience and effects. For this, I'm going to head over to drums, and I'm just going to choose a very basic drum set. I would say experiment with the first 15 or so. I'm going to put in warm drums. Now when I press play, and you'll note that expand got filled out with all these different drum references. Now it sounds a little bit more like drums. I hear a tambourine, hi-hat, a kick drum, a click every now and then. All right, and that's all that there is to it. For now, we're not going to go any deeper than that. We're just going to keep doing this same thing. I'm going to make these small again until I need to show you something. All right, so now I'm going to drag my bass. Oh, they called it something else. They called it fretless, right? I'm going to drag that onto my bass track. It's gray. I'm going to head over and choose expand. Now I can have a bass line that is playing back with Beneath the Waves, or I can head over to basses. It said fretless, so I'll choose the first bass and make it a fretless bass. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and say that that doesn't sound real great right now, but I will fix it maybe in a few minutes and show you why I don't think it sounds great. Okay, now I'm going to close this expand instrument. Does not mean that it's gone. I can click on either of these. Note that when I click on this one, it is the bass sound, or the sound associated with the track, and this one are the drums. I'm going to go over to my piano. I'm going to click. Hey, here's a little trick for you. If you click Option and you click on an expand instrument, you can copy it. All right, so it's kind of a quick way of just inserting an instrument. However, it has the bass sound on it. Okay, it's the same as this one. So now I just need to change my instrument, make it a piano. Hey, reggae piano. I don't know what that sounds like, but let's try it. Acoustic piano. Dragging it all the way. Now notice, like you can place it anywhere, but if you did it here, it's not related. It's not in time. So everything starts at the beginning. Okay. Now I'm going to skip ahead and just do this a little bit more quickly. I'm going to bring the clav in. I'm going to bring charang, which I don't know what it is, but it is something. I'm going to bring in reset. Reset is nothing. I'm going to hit M, which is mute. Not that there's any sound anyways. Melody. Guitar. Jazz guitar. Guitar mute 1. And if you hit shift, all of these in a row, boom. All 3 of them. Flute. Alto sax. Bone. And trumpet. You can take these 2 at the same time. All right, I am going to copy, expand all the way down. All right, and right now, as these are turning from gray to blue, just remember that they all have the same sound. Whatever this one I copied was, which was the piano. So let's hear what Exodus sounds like, all piano. Okay. Exodus. All right, so we can hear kind of the sense of the song in there. And then we're going to go change all those sounds. I'm going to show you something, just a reminder. Reset. I've decided there's nothing really to this track. I could delete it by coming up to track and hit delete. I could also, if it were another type of instrument, say it was a bass and it was taking up the space or something like that, I could come over here into the tracks list, click on this button, and just make it hide. And for now, that's fine. So the clav is where I left off. I'm going to go into the section. I'm changing all these sounds. I'm going to go into E piano and clav. Something called a fat clav somewhere. Fat clavinet. All right, a charang. I actually need to listen to that because I don't know what it is. All right, I'm going to come back to that. I think it might be like an electric guitar of some kind. All right, melody. All right, so that is the vocal melody. I'm going to mute that and come back to it. All right, so for guitar. Now this is the kind of guitar sound in reggae, often called the skank guitar, which is can't. So we want something very short. In acoustic piano guitars, probably something clean. Let's see what the beauty strat sounds like. That's short, but it doesn't sound good. Okay, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but the beauty... Stratorius? No, too much delay. Let's just leave it at beauty strat. Guitar mute. I just saw in that guitar section something called muted electric 30. Now, what are these different parts here? For muted 2, I'm going to go in there. Since I don't want to spend a whole lot of time looking, clean electric. And since I don't want to spend a lot of time looking, make sure that you're activating the right one. I'm not. Something studio strat. Okay, I don't know why. I think those are going to be fairly clean sounds. All right. Whoa. All right, flute, expand. A flute will be in brass and woodwinds. Flute. I'm not going to listen to it. Let's just do it. Sax. Brass and woodwinds. Is there an alto sax? Quickly. Alto sax, number 21. Trombone. 24. And a trumpet. I will go with a muted trumpet. All right. Excuse me. I'm going to go to a section where I can hear all these strings. Okay. All right. So back to this basic idea. All right, two thoughts that I'm having about this already. It's a little bit slow, I think. So I'm going to make it 5 beats per minute faster. Our current tempo is up here at 120. I'm going to make sure that I'm at the beginning of my session. Click on this plus sign, and I'm going to make our tempo 125. And we're going to listen. All right. I think that's a little bit better. The sound has a big dance vibe to it. Now, the bass I had mentioned earlier, didn't really like the sound. What I think it is it's too low in the octave. So I'm going to make a choice here. And I'm going to double click on this with my grabber so that I can actually see the part that I want to mess with or edit. When I double clicked in there, all of these are highlighted. They're lightly colored. If I click on here, I can hear that that A is just really low. So starting on beat 1 of measure 21, I'm going to raise it by an octave. And I think it's going to sound better. Okay, So we've done pretty much everything I wanted to do. We've imported a MIDI track. We created tracks, instrument tracks for every MIDI track in that MIDI file. And we put sounds on every track, and we can made a tempo change, and we can hear now we want to try and make it sound as good as we can, and that might take really spending some time getting to know the different sounds that you have available to you. Sometimes when I'm doing that, I might just highlight a section of a track, solo it, and bring up this little window within window, which gives me all of the sounds within the instrument, and I can kind of use my arrows to just cruise through and listen to the different sounds available. Okay, and you can hear some of them are totally inappropriate. You know, but you could try kind of an acoustic ukulele version. We could take this bass and change it to a synth bass. What's that going to sound like? Oh, we get a little electro. Why not change the drums to electro? What's that going to sound like? Interesting. Here we go. Let's try a lead on that piano. Maybe a soft lead of some kind. A winemaker. All right, that decision was not a good decision. Winemaker. So that's out. On to something else. What if it were strings? Who knows? That's the beauty of the fun of this. Big soft strings. Okay, strings are interesting, but probably not big soft strings. What about big pizzicato strings? All right, but you get the idea. So now we have essentially a song that we've imported from a MIDI track, MIDI file. Talk to y'all later.